A mysterious box, an ancient curse, and a trail of inexplicable horrors. Tonight, we unravel the chilling tale of the Dybbuk Box, an artifact said to be haunted by a restless spirit from Jewish folklore.
From its origins to its unsettling modern encounters, the box has left a path of fear, death, and intrigue in its wake. What dark force lies within, and who dare open it? Buckle up for a story that will leave you questioning reality.
And welcome to Zoomundus, Episode 8, Unboxing Evil. I'm Doolin.
And I'm Keith.
And we're going to jump into the mysterious legend of the Dybbuk Box tonight. So this is actually the second show we've done on a cursed item.
Yeah, that's true.
First one was the Crying Boy painting back in Episode 4. And this one's interesting. Going back to...
It's got some similarities.
The first time we ever covered a cursed item would have been way back on Zoomundo podcast, Episode 1, where we talked about Robert the Doll. He gets brought up sometimes here on this show.
Quite a bit, actually.
Robert the Doll, supposedly a cursed item, and with an evil spirit attached to it.
The inspiration for the Child's Play movies.
Correct. Yeah. And the Dybbuk Box is no different. This is believed to be a cursed item that has an evil spirit attached to it. Yeah.
Next song.
Next. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the origins of the Dybbuk Box, its historical and paranormal significance, and the terrifying accounts of those who owned it. So first of all, we're going to talk about Jewish folklore, Hebrew folklore a little bit, if you will. So do you know what a Dybbuk is?
It's a spirit.
Right. So
I think.
It's a malicious spirit. Cited in Jewish folklore, believed to be the restless soul of a dead person that takes over a living body. So almost like an exorcism or possession, so to speak.
But in the box.
Yeah, but it's in... What's in the box?
What's in the box? Oh, man.
We have fun.
I was going to say that at some point.
So Jewish myth, magic, mysticism, these things all describe Dybbuks as spirits that cling to the living and need to be exorcised by a rabbi.
Okay.
So that's the spiritual significance. So what's the cultural significance of the Dybbuk? So it has religious and spiritual importance in Jewish traditions, as I mentioned. And there's been historical accounts of rabbis that have performed rituals to rid people of Dybbuk. So just like, Catholic priests will perform exorcisms.
Okay, very similar,
in Jewish folklore, this happens as well. So one of the most famous accounts of this is going to be Rabbi Saul Lowenstein's 19th century exorcism story.
Whoa, I didn't hear this one.
Oh, well, buckle up. We're gonna learn you something today. I didn't know about it till I researched it. So this is a well-known example of the belief in Dybbuks in Jewish folklore. So Rabbi Lowenstein was a prominent rabbi in Poland in the 19th century who was approached by a family that believed their daughter was possessed by a Dybbuk.
Okay.
So the young woman exhibited unusual behavior, claiming to be possessed by the spirit of a deceased person who had unfinished business, and her family was, rightly terrified of this, believing that a Dybbuk had taken control of their daughter's body. So, in response, the rabbi performed a traditional exorcism ritual, which involved prayers, blowing into a shofar, otherwise a ram's horn, which is used in religious ceremonies, and specific incantations that were aimed at driving the Dybbuk out. So, just like, when the power of Christ compels you, same thing, just in the Jewish tradition.
Okay.
So according to the story of this exorcism, the Dybbuk eventually left the young woman's body after the rabbi's ritual, and she returned to normal. So the tale is cited as one of the most famous historical accounts of an exorcism from Jewish tradition, demonstrating the deeply ingrained belief in Dybbuk's evil spirits and their threat in that culture.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of backstory on the Dybbuk. But when we go into the modern story, the Dybbuk Box, this is where the legend comes from. So this actually goes back to 2003, so pretty recent history.
That's
actually,
very recent.
It begins with a man named Kevin Mannis.
Yes,
that we know of, and he
that we know
of. But he put it up on sale on eBay.
Indeed.
And the eBay listing generated a significant interest, inspiring numerous stories and even a film adaptation titled The Possession. I haven't seen that movie, have you?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I might have watched it and not been aware of it. But,
yeah.
But
that was a long time ago.
So the authenticity of the Dybbuk box has been widely debated, but it's kind of become a modern folklore tale, especially like that in 2003 being the earlier days of the internet.
Well, there's 10 known Dybbuk boxes.
Really?
Currently, right. 8 of them are accounted for. 2 of them, their whereabouts are unknown, which adds to the mystery, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know why there's only 10 of these things. It's a wine box is really what it,
right.
With the modern ones that, people have portrayed, like you'd store a wine bottle in, or maybe a couple wine bottles, depending on the size, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as far as the construction and the makeup of it, it's just a wooden box. It's fairly ornate, in its design. We don't have a picture to show you right now. I mean, edit that in.
Yeah. Well, well, in the eBay listing, he said, it's kind of funny, that you would say these things if you're trying to sell it. But in the eBay listing, he described like, this thing is cursed. I want to get rid of it. Objects move on their own. I've had horrific nightmares of a demonic figure and inexplicable illness amongst friends and family.
Maybe he was doing that to get people to buy, because
that's kind of my thinking.
Yeah.
It's like ooh,
good advertising.
Yeah, I mean, like it generated interest. But shortly before posting this, he says his mother died of a stroke.
Yeah, I actually read that his mother died instantly of a stroke, or had a stroke instantly when she opened the box. He thinks the box may have contributed to this, obviously. He purchased it from an older woman that built it. You're probably going to get into that.
Before we get into that, before we go to the woman who purchased it, did you read about the olive oil incident that Mannis reported on? So he also went on to claim that he would smell strange scents around the box, like 2 very different smells, jasmine and cat urine. Ew. Around the box. And then one time he said he saw a puddle of olive oil around it that had the scent to it.
Does he have a cat?
No, because he said, referencing his quote, he said, "I have no explanation for what happened. All I know is that there was something in the box."
Maybe there was a bottle of olive oil that the cat knocked over while I was pinning with it. Sorry.
But then that begs the question, where did he get the box? So you were saying,
so he supposedly purchased it either from the older woman or after her passing.
So a woman named Havela.
That she survived World War II, and that
Holocaust survivor.
Constructed the box after surviving the Second World War to deal with some of the grief that, obviously she experienced quite a bit of during that conflict, right?
Right.
And then that's, when Kevin said his mom opened the box and then she had a stroke instantly. He realized she was having a stroke, classic signs of that.
Yeah.
And then had to take her to the hospital and stuff like that. And she ended up, eventually passing away. So he thinks the box is, haunted and directly related to his mother's untimely demise.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but he said he got the box from a woman, as you said, Holocaust survivor, and she warned him that the box must never be opened. This really reads like, the opening of Gremlins. Remember, it's like he's like, don't feed it after midnight. Yeah,
don't get them wet.
Yeah, exactly. Like like the mysterious old person, like never open the box.
Yeah, what's in the box? God,
which is the story is unverifiable, unfortunately, but it adds an air of intrigue to the story.
2 different accounts right there. One, he bought it from the lady. She says don't open it. One, he bought it after she passed away.
Yeah, they're two different accounts here.
Something's not adding up.
Yes, but I feel like that kind of imbues the story with like a little bit of like emotional intensity. You know what I mean? So like, hey, we all love a good story.
Oh yeah.
And the Dybbuk box is no different.
They also say never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
That's very true. Yeah. But so who bought the box from Kevin Mannis? Somebody did.
And his name
was Jason Haxton.
Yes.
So
Haxton lives in Missouri.
Yep. Let's see.
Or did at the time.
And he is or was the director of a medical museum, and he wrote the book.
That's cool.
He wrote a book called The Dybbuk Box in 2011 about his own experience, claiming that the box caused him to develop strange health issues like hives, coughing up blood, and even temporary blindness.
That's wild.
And if that were true, I'd get rid of it immediately.
Yeah. I don't need to keep this. But he didn't get rid of it. He actually kept it.
Well, then he
buried it on his property.
And lined in gold, no less.
Oh, really? The interview he gave that I watched, he said that he put it in a military box and buried it on his 26-acre property. So he knew where it was all the time, but he refused to disturb it. And
I would have taken it off my property.
I'm a little skeptical. Obviously, you can put something in a box, but it's wood, right? So, like, if any moisture gets in there, it's going to start messing with this thing. And when they bring it out, because they brought it out on Ghost Adventures,
right?
And we're getting to that, but it looked perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And the guy, I mean, in one of the videos, one of the guys was like, "Oh, is that a replica?" And he's like, "No, this is it."
I'm like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, he keeps it buried on his property, and yeah. And then,
then it goes to then we go to the Ghost Adventures.
The Ghost Adventures,
and that's going to be with a man named Zach Baggins of Ghost Adventures.
No relation to Bilbo.
No relation to Bilbo, unfortunately. Yeah. He bought the Dybbuk Box for this guy owned a haunted museum in Las Vegas.
I think he still does.
Yeah. And the box allegedly caused havoc from there on in. Now,
well, so
in 2020. So we're thinking this is at the height of COVID.
Yep.
Pandemic's going on, and he supposedly live streamed a 4-part event where he invited Post Malone to be present as they attempted to open the box.
Yeah.
And I heard some alleged stories about Post Malone.
I got him.
You
right
got
here.
some stuff. Yeah. So Post Malone is tied.
A musician,
yeah. I mean, he's a pop star, I guess you could say, but.
Rapper, pop star.
Yeah. So he apparently was involved in a series of dangerous accidents who some people blamed on the box. You have some.
Okay. So when, not Kevin, Jason Haxton brings the box to Zach Baggins, and, it becomes this whole thing. Gives him the whole story that he's experienced. They actually bring Kevin Mannis back when he first opens it, I believe, to talk about his experience and with his mother and stuff like that. So all these people, it's like this cast of characters now, right?
Yeah, it's like we're bringing it in. You got to also think like we're down to enter. I'll let you come back to this, but like we're at the height of COVID right now. This guy has a museum.
Right.
People can't visit it.
Correct.
So he's got to do something.
Right. He's got to go to the TV, the airwaves, right?
Yeah.
YouTube, all that good
exactly.
stuff, right? So he does a live stream where they open the box.
He gets celebrities involved.
Exactly. Well, another time, I guess Post Malone is there, right? He went down to the museum and they were doing like a private thing. I don't know if this was even during COVID or what. I don't know what year this happened in, but they go see the box, and this box is kind of like the Robert the Doll thing. You got to sign a waiver to look at it. It's in glass and it's a museum exhibit. It's got a lot of folklore around it. So apparently they open it, Zach opens it, and Post Malone was touching him or something, at the same time, because he's casually sipping beers, he's walking through this crazy museum and stuff, and just that they think I read the curse. Obviously, it's like electricity, like it faded a little bit or something, and only partially got to Post Malone, but he had a series of unfortunate events because the box is open and he was cursed by it.
Okay.
One of those things is that the tires on this plane blew off the airplane right when he took off on a trip to London, and they were able to land and stuff. So that's good, right? Mm-hmm. It's not good the tires blew off or popped or went flat or however it was, but that blow off is what what you read when you look it up. He also had an old house that he used to live in was broken into right after this. And
that he used to live in? So it's not even his misfortune at that point, right?
It's just misfortune, right? General misfortune.
Like he's tied to it in some way.
I don't even know if he's still in the house. But and then his Rolls Royce was hit in West Hollywood, like T-boned by a Kia, specifically in the, it must have been a TMZ type article I read.
Yeah.
And he was fine though. He I don't know if he got hurt at all in that, but
there are some accidents that are involved there.
So, you see this thing and you're like, oh man, series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them right there. Maybe it went away after that. Right. Interesting.
Yeah, very much so. So here is for now, and now from like you can tell by the way we're talking about this, like we're kind of skeptical of this story. So
I'm a little skeptical.
There's some other skeptics out there, including Chris French from Goldsmiths, the University of London. He argues that the Dybbuk Box is just simply a story of urban legend made compelling through a mix of Jewish folklore and paranormal intrigue. And a lot of researchers have pointed out the fact that there's no record of a Dybbuk box in Jewish folklore before the eBay listing. So I mean, there was the spirit, the Dybbuk, like a malevolent
This is
spirit.
like a dude's art project that he's like, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, yeah, but I can like drum up a fun story around this and sell it for like a decent this thing that I could probably give away to Goodwill for free, or maybe I can get a couple $1,000s if I drum up a good story about it.
Yeah, I mean, people love a good story. Yeah.
Well, on that note, Kevin Mannis's confession.
Oh, let's send it.
So in 2021, so just 3 years ago, Kevin Mannis admitted in an interview with Input Magazine that he concocted much of the story behind the Dybbuk Box as part of a creative writing project. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm doing air quotes, a creative writing project.
I hope my winking is not indicative of my air quotes.
So, but despite his confession of him basically saying like, yeah, I made that shit up, a lot of people still argue that the energy around the box is real and its legacy has kind of taken on its life of its own. And that we see that a lot, especially with internet culture.
Right.
Like I feel
it's
like
so real, bro.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't think we ever talked about Slenderman on Zoomundo or not, but like Slenderman's a good example of like something that is entirely concocted on the internet, and like whereas it used to take like years and years for a tall tale and these urban legends to kind of grow on the internet, like they grow like wildfire.
It goes nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but there's some theories and paranormal interpretations surrounding this.
Okay.
The one would be psychosomatic effects. Is it all in their head? So there's theory out there that
mass hysteria.
mass hysteria. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Jinx. But people like if you're around this thing, like if I was like, Keith, this cup is cursed, and like you go home and you get sick the next day or something, you're like, oh my God, it must be the curse of the cup that I bought at Spirit Halloween store.
Oh, this cup is full and not cursed.
You just spilled it on yourself. See, it's cursed.
The cup. We just witnessed it there.
We just witnessed the curse. Psychosomatic effect. So
didn't realize there was something in there.
Yeah, so I mean, so it's just one of those things where if I tell you something's cursed and you suddenly like maybe 2 weeks, a month later, your sister gets into a car accident, you're suddenly like, oh shit, it must be the curse.
Or like somebody gives you a lucky rabbit's foot and then something cool happens and you're like, yay, it must be the lucky rabbit's foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Same type of thing.
It's, I mean, yeah. So very much placebo in your head.
Effect.
You can, placebo effect. Like you can kind of explain away some. You smell cat pee? Like I'm not joking. I'm like, there's a smell in here. I think maybe we're tempting the fates or something.
Oh gosh, no. I don't smell cat pee.
Okay, good. It's just me. I'm the only person affected by the curse.
It could be my my Coke, root beer, and Powerade mix from the fountain drink. Yeah.
Well, so some people will argue that even though the Dybbuk Box was originally fabricated, its repeated exposure to paranormal events and high energy environments like haunted museums could have imbued it with real supernatural power. So I think it's one of those things of like, it's like The Secret. You manifest things into existence. Kind of. That's
the law of attraction.
The law of attraction. So if enough people believe that this is cursed, it becomes cursed.
It's like George Costanza.
I mean,
it's not a lie if you believe it.
It's true.
Oh man. I think this is.
This one's kind of
a MacGuffin, right?
Yeah,
it's a fun story for somebody to get entertained by when they're in a museum,
or if you're listening to a podcast.
I can't say I debunk it because I've never seen it.
I'd have to say this one is probably mostly debunked.
I mean, especially when the guy comes out and is like,
I freaking made it. But you have people that like love a good story so much,
of course,
that they're saying like, yeah, well, even though he said he made it up, it's still cursed because we willed it so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
remember
not buying that.
Remember when The Secret first came out, and and even like my mom was like, "You have to read this book."
Oh, I never read
And I
that.
read it. I listened to it on audio when
that
it first
counts.
came out, and I was listening to it, and it's like it's basically just all about willing things into existence with the power of your own
Okay.
manifestation and stuff.
I've never willed a lottery ticket to hit.
yeah,
But I thought
but
about
according
it.
to The Secret, if you just believe it enough,
man.
you can achieve it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, which is kind of what people are saying about the Dybbuk Box. So like they're like, well, if they willed it enough, they believed it enough, then it'll happen.
Yeah.
So kind of silly, but honestly, I don't think there's much. There's not really much weight behind this one. I think
No.
it's. I think there's a series of coincidental things,
Indeed.
that happened. But as far as like an evil spirit being attached to this box, I got to personally say that the skeptic on me is winning out in this one. And
Indeed.
yeah. So yeah,
I'm pretty skeptical on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen an alien or a Dybbuk box, which I mean,
that you know of.
well, it's true. I've seen a lot of old boxes in what are those places called? Antique stores and stuff. But,
What are those things? Antique stores.
yeah.
But listen, guys, if there's if you're out there, you're listening to us, you're watching this on YouTube, what is it that you would like us to talk about, man? Like, we would welcome your emails, or you can even just leave a comment below telling us what you'd like us to talk about. Drop us an email at zoomundo@outlook.com. We'll be happy to read your email on the air while we're talking.
Always
And,
hit that like and subscribe if you are
smash
watching
that
this.
like button.
Just always, yeah.
Before we get started, hit that notification. Okay, I'm sorry. So as we conclude this eerie exploration, or not so eerie as the case may be, it's crucial to remember that the belief in the supernatural could impact the world around us. So whether it's folklore or something more sinister, the stories surrounding the Dybbuk Box remind us of the thin veil between our reality and the unknown. So if you're intrigued by the mysteries that we've uncovered, stay tuned for our next episode, and we will continue to dive into the unexplained. So for Zoomundus, I'm Doolin.
And I'm Keith.
And have a Zoomundus week, everybody. We'll see you next time. There it be, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a box over there. You want to open it and see what happens?
I'm sure there's just chips in it.
There might be. It might be cursed. Cursed chips.
Could be cursed chips.
Yes.